Okay, we're doing a quick lesson on inside candles, and we're going to create a Word document that helps us keep track of the rules. And so, first rule is you got to have an inside candle, right? Well, an inside candle is when the current candle, right, is within the previous candle. And you can see on this little square that I've got here, this is inside the previous candle. So if we look at the high, including the wick, and the low, including the wick, then you see that it is within that candle, right? So that candle is within that candle, so that's called an inside candle. Anybody have questions on that? All right, so the normal rules are inside candle break is triggered when price climbs above or drops below the inside candle. This means you can go long or short at these points. Okay, any questions on that? So, to give you an example, Uber has triggered the inside candle down here, right? So that means you can go short, but you see some of these other ones, this one's triggered it up, right? This one still inside. This one, it triggered it up early this morning. PayPal still inside. Tesla still inside. So you've got a couple plays that have triggered to the up or to the downside. Now, this is about as basic as you're going to get for the strategy, because what I do is I'll come in here and I'll say, all right, while those are the rules, right, like the ultimate rules, for me, I want to use VP, right? Use volume profile to determine profit levels and risk. This is done by examining support and resistance levels within the previous two candles. That means the inside candle and the candle that it was inside of. Does that make sense? So if I wanted to find support and resistance levels here, let's just let me see something real quick. I'm gonna see if there's something that I can find real quick to just kind of give you an example of one that's brand new. Okay, so like, do you see this candle right here on AVGO? Is this candle an inside candle so far? Would we consider this an inside candle right here? This one? Yes or no? Yeah, it is, right? It's inside this one. So let's just pretend we finish here. Well, ultimately for me, I may want to get in a little bit earlier than the inside candle break, or I may want to get in a little bit later after the inside candle break, depending upon the volume profile. So if the break here, it says see how it says, so the high on this one is 1415.98. So 1415.98. That's the high of this candle. Well, I don't want to get in at 1415.99. I want it to actually break 1416. Right? So if it gets over 1416, then I'd be willing to get in it, right? Well, why? Because that's obviously a mental level. You don't want to get in right beneath that mental level. Let's wait a little while. Or maybe there's an opportunity for me to get in it before it breaks. Maybe there's some kind of VP that's set up that says, you know what, the main VP is actually at 14.12, and if it gets over that, I think that's when you should take it. That's fine. So what this means is you can pre-enter or post-enter depending on how would you say this? Depending on VP levels and or mental levels, right? So now let's go back and look at a one that we have for this week. Let's look up ASML. How's that one look? Wow, we're above it. Okay, PayPal. Yeah, okay, let's look at PayPal. So if we're just looking at PayPal, you can see this is the breakdown and this is the break up. Maybe I want to get in PayPal if it breaks 65 instead of waiting till 65.56 because that's a minimum level, and you never know, maybe there's an opportunity there. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in for the last two candles. And so I'll come in here and it's like, all right. So last week was the 13th through the 17th, and the week before that, right, was the 6th through the 10th. So first thing I'm going to do is look between the 13th and the 17th just to see if there's a level that's screaming out to me, hey, there's room above. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear, right? So once PayPal can start getting above 64.75-ish, to that 65 range, yeah, I'd be on board for that. So this would be an example of me saying, all right, yeah, PayPal, technically it needs to get over 65.53. That's the level, right? That's what breaks the next candle. Right there, right? That's your technical entry according to ICB. But what I'm seeing is maybe you get a little bit more room if you get in over 65, because that 65.53, yeah, that's another little level here that will provide some resistance, and then your next level is going to be up here near 66. All right, so now we look back at the weekly candle, and according to the normal rules of the strategies of ICB, Rev Strat, and all that kind of stuff, your ultimate target should be the previous candle's high. And so what the previous candle of the one that it was inside of. So like this is the inside candle right here. You're supposed to take it on the break of this candle, the one before that, and then your profit target would be up here at this one, right? So is that a doable thing? Is it realistic? Well, let's look at it. Yeah, so what I see here on this PayPal is once you get over the 65, 64.75-ish area, you're going to get a quick push to this 64.53. right? And you're going to be playing against these people on the 3rd and the 6th right here. All right, these guys right here. So you should get a little pullback off that level. So for me, it would be buy, right here. I'm going to flip this one to red just so it's sell. And I'll shrink this back down so you can see the numbers better. But then I would sell a portion here, right? And then if we got a retest of this level, I'd actually buy it again, right? So if it went boom, boom, and then same thing, I would sell some more, right? So sell half, as it gets up into that level again. And then if it breaks again, I would actually be selling some as it starts hitting up into the 66-ish level, this VP right here. Whoops, I need red. And so this would be my distribution at that point. Here and then here would be the, you're holding that last 10, 20, 25% for the ultimate move would be there, right? So that's what it would look like for me on the inside candle, right? So this is an example of getting in there and front running the edge. So what the edge is saying is capture this zone. And the inside candle says don't buy until you get above 65.53 and then take profits at 66.77, which I agree. That's a great opportunity to capture all this. There's not a lot of resistance here, but I think you can capture another 50 cents out of it, right? And then if I can do that, what that allows me to do is by the time it does break, I'll have already taken a little bit of profit, so I won't be as quick to stop out if it does pull back, right? So if we did a break up to 65.80 and then it pulled back to 64.90, I wouldn't look at that as a negative thing. I would look at that more as all right, we're retesting. Let's add and give it a shot. Does that make sense? Okay. Is your ICB edge based on the weekly chart, or do you use the daily as well? I use the daily. You can use whatever time frame you want. So here, I'll give you an example. So you see how NVIDIA on the 65-minute chart had an inside candle? You could have played this, right? It's a 65-minute chart. You've got a daily that I was watching today. Let's see. I don't know which one was I don't remember which. I set the alerts. No, it wasn't AAP. Was it ASML on the daily too? No, it wasn't. So it wasn't ASML. Was it CW on the daily? No. I swear I put in some alerts for dailies. Maybe I forgot to put in the alerts because they haven't triggered, so I don't know what they are. Maybe I did forget. Oh no, pins. So I actually got triggered into it, right? So I did mention this one to you guys, right? So daily, get in, decide if you want to get in a little bit earlier, profits, right? So this is a daily one that worked. Boom, boom. So you can use it on whatever time frame. So here, let's add that in there, right? It's a question, what this being used? This can be played on any time frame. Just know that that the longer time frames tend to produce how do I say this? Not better results, but more consistent price movement. What I mean by that is you're going to have less breakdowns and breakouts and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, any questions that I didn't get? Let's see. D-Man, and at what point do you consider the retrace and go to add to or exit the position? This is very tricky. No, what's your recommendation on how to approach it? Yeah, 100%. That's the next level, right? If there is air room via VP. All right, so the B spot of this is risk is determined by VP for me. Now, what this means is what can happen intraday is you can kind of create some VP and a shelf that allows you to say, hey, as long as we stay above these people, I'm good. And that's the level that I would use. The normal rules are, let's pull up ASML. If you see that this is the break up, right? So the high is 938.81. So if we are looking at that, right? Let's just pretend that that's going to be your entry, right? Like we didn't do any research to see if it's better to get in sooner or whatever. So if we just pretend that's your level, the main thing that I do, this is what I always do, is I'll say I need to be above the people that I'm playing against zone. So if I'm playing up here at 938.81, is my zone that I need to be above back here? No, it's not, right? The people that I'm playing against that have created this little ledge that has created this 938.81, these are the people that I got to stay above them. This is your breakout. A breakout trade means it needs to go. And when you're playing breakout trades, they need to go. Give me one sec. Okay. Sorry, I had to do something real quick. So the level here I'm going to show you is I would zoom in, and it's like, all right, if I'm playing up against these people here, where would be the last position that these people that bought here or sold here would re-add back to it, right? That's the whole purpose of VP. And oftentimes what happens is right at this breakout level, you're going to get something on that day that's going to create that similar range. And an example of that is right here on ASML. And the reason it does that is because, before you do a breakout, you need like 1, 2, 3, go, right? You usually get some type of consolidation. So these people today, right, May 20th, they consolidated above this level, which happens to match with the people that I'm playing against, right? Boom, boom. So for me, as long as we're keeping these people happy, I'm good. if we start making these people sad, what's going to happen, right? Well, the people that bought the breakout, like me, right? People that started adding and buying all the way up here, they're going to start stopping out if you get too far away from their entries, right? These people are going to start stopping out, and so you get a trigger of stop outs, right? And that's what creates a failed breakout. And we're gonna get to how to handle those here in a minute. So the risk level is, for me, always based off of VP and keeping the people that you're playing against happy at the high end, right? And same for a short on the low end. Like you don't want to be below these people. Think of it as a breakout trade. You'd rather a breakout trade if you're risking, whatever, $1, $2. Again, we're playing with a $900 stock here, but I would rather lose $1 to $2 5 times, and then have a winner hit me, 30-40% of the time and gain $4 or $5, and you're going to be very profitable at that. Okay, so the stop out is always VP based. You always want the the high side VP players happy. You start getting under them, look for a failed breakout. MPK, yeah, I do, but again, it's a long-term trade for me, and they have earnings coming up. Okay. So, any questions so far? All right. Now, let's see. The purpose of the inside candle is consolidation, showing nobody has won yet, meaning bulls versus bears. And once a higher high or lower low is put in, then the losing team should give up and we should push. Does everybody understand that? Okay. All right, good. At this point, whenever I enter a trade, I immediately prepare the risk side, and if I am stopped out, I start looking for the failed breakout, failed breakdown, right? Now, what this means is, do you guys know what the Rev Strat is? All right, how many of you guys know what the Rev Strat is? Because we did the Rev Strat. Here's the Rev Strat document. right? We did this exact same thing with the Rev Strat. It's right here. Give me my screens back. There we go. So if you don't have this Rev Strat sheet, let me know. I have this and the video that goes with it, okay? And so for the Rev Strat to happen, you actually have to have an inside candle fail. So when this happens, start prepping for the Rev Strat. Okay? So this is where this edge came from, is because when I would lose, you know, it's like, well, I always want to play whatever I'm playing, and if I can turn it back into a profit, great. Let's look for the Rev Strat. So there's a rule that is kind of an arbitrary number, where if you're playing an inside candle, so like let's look at pins because it's doing it. So when you're playing an inside candle, right, we played pins, we caught the breakout, we caught it to its next candle high. Well, there's a rule that says if you can get to 50% or below the 50% mark of the inside candle, you're probably going to engulf it and put in a 3, which is called a 3 candle, right? And so if you look at this, I'm going to expand it here. And we were to throw in the high is 100%, right? The low is right there. So if we were to look at this overall for today, well, what happened? Well, we came up, we broke highs, right? Boom, we broke the previous day, which is I'm going to put this previous day in a box here. So this is the inside day that we're playing. All right, so we broke, we went up, we hit the next level high, we took profits, we're good to go, and then this is where I'm like, all right, I'll hold some and leave it at entry, or I'll trail stop out here. This is when I'll say, okay, I took some profits, I'm trail stopping out here or there, and if it keeps going, great. If it doesn't, I've already made my money. Well, what happened on pins? It did a breakout, right? It rolled over, and the rule is once it reaches this 50% mark right here, right, this line right here, that's your 50% mark on that day candle, you're probably going to get an engulf. And the reason that they use that 50% mark is because of the laziness of thinking, well, you're underneath 50% of the people, so you're probably going to go down, right? And that's not always the case. But the overall rule for me is as long as you're underneath the people, right? And so if we start looking at that level, well, where are those people? Well, it's right at 50% on this one. So this one is right? Like sometimes you'll be, especially if you're playing a weekly, sometimes the people will be a little bit higher or a little bit lower. If they're a little bit lower, I don't want to short at that 50% mark trying to get an engulf. On this one, yeah, it's worth it, right? So look, this one came all the way back down to here, came back up into this 50% mark, starts rolling over, and there we go. Now we've got our engulf, right? And so, boom, there it is. So that's why it's so important to immediately say, all right, I'm playing pins on an inside candle. I've taken some profits. Crap, it's coming back in. Now I've trail stopped out. All right, is it setting up a potential Rev Strat? Is it setting up a potential 3 candle that's going to engulf? Because that's basically a failed breakout. Right? Okay. Let me catch up on questions. Right. So the Rev Strat general rule is ICB does break out, break down, then it pulls back over 50% retracement of that ICB. Then you usually get an engulf. Right. That's what this is saying. Okay. Whoops. How do I get it back to 6? It's not letting me get to 6. There we go. Got it. All right. Matt M. ICB stands for inside candle break. That's what it stands for. Okay. If the candle doesn't, maybe this should be B. Yeah, I think this should be B. If the candle doesn't engulf, then you are set up for a great Rev Strat on the next candle. Okay. My normal shortest time frame to play is daily. However, I do play shorter time frames down to the 15-minute. They're just not as often, right? And I'll give you an example of one today. Was I think it was CW. So do you see how this CW, this candle here, is within this candle, right? And so when I was looking at CW, I'm very bullish on CW, right? I like the chart. It's going straight up. And so I'm like, well, yeah, I want to capture this if this starts to break up, and it'll give me an opportunity. So again, it does break. It goes to your next candle's high. Again, I do more with VP. Like, this is me and my VP stuff. But same idea. It comes up here, sell it. Now you've made a little bit of profit. You determine whether you want to try to give it a chance to go further or stop out at entry, right? So this is one that was done on a 195. And it will, it'll work on many time frames. Like, it doesn't have to be a daily or whatever. Just understand, and this is for any edge. Like, when you're playing a 15-minute TPS versus a daily TPS, there's more price consistency within a day because you've got more people that have traded within that range, right? Okay. All right. If you get a failed breakout, would you continue to trade as a short below the inside candle? Yeah. That's ultimately, of course. If you, so like on pins, if you're looking at this as a Rev Strat, right? And if you got in at the 50% mark, your first target would be right here at the engulf. But the ultimate target would be to take it down to the next level. So you guys will often hear me say, like, a failed breakout will lead to a failed breakdown a lot of times. That's what I'm talking about. And so on this one, on pins in particular, do you see how we didn't quite break out of this right here? I think if we would have broken out over this and given a little bit of push, we would definitely come down here and break. And so you're always determined on the particular chart pattern that you're playing. But yes, that's the ultimate goal, is to take it down to that next level below the inside candle. Okay, is there anything that I'm forgetting? I love playing inside months and quarters. Because this means you have a lot of energy built up. Right? Because if it's a month or a quarter, then it's like, man, you're really going to break up and do a really good breakout, or even if you do a failed breakdown, that reverse is going to be great. There's just so much more built up in that candle because it's for such a long period of time. And here, I'll give you an example of one is Apple. I don't know if you guys remember, a while back I was like, man, Apple, like, dude, it looks like it really wants to break down. And it's just ugly, right? It was looking real ugly. It kept having that, and it was before this month. So like if we were to look at Apple, right, like this to me is really bearish, right? You're like, wow, it really wants to break down. Maybe we can pick up some Apple a little bit lower. But I want to grab some Apple long because it's a great company and they're going to turn it around, right? And so once it broke the lows here, right, starts reversing, boom. Well, what did that look like on the quarterly candle? Why did it come back up? It should have pushed down in a way. And so if you look at this quarterly candle, you've got an inside candle on the quarterly time frame. A lot of fighting, right? Meaning the bears and bulls, nobody won within this range, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like, boom, somebody won, and the people that are trying to get long are all stopping out, and everybody that's shorting is piling on the shorts, and so this should push us down to the next zone, but this happens to be one that didn't work. Right? An inside candle that did not work. I'm okay with that. Take the short, try to take a little bit of money. You took it down to the next level, which was here. You made a little bit of money on your short, great. However, always prepare for the Rev Strat because that's even more powerful than the inside candle. So once this started reversing, it was like game on, right? We stopped out all the longs. And when you stop out the longs, you stopped out the sellers that would normally sell on a move up. And so usually you get a violent reaction to the opposite side. And you can see we went up 17% on Apple in less than a month. That's the reaction that we're talking about, right? So literally any time frame you can play on, all time frames, it doesn't matter. The longer I like, the more build up. It gives you bigger moves overall. But that's it. That's the inside candle. Do we have any questions on this?